"Daddy, can we bring her home for Christmas?" The question struck like a bell in a quiet church, echoing into every corner of the man's tired heart. It had come not from a place of pity or confusion, but from the pure, trembling compassion of a little girl who had just witnessed a moment most adults would simply glance away from. For there, sitting alone on a worn bench outside the grocery store, was a woman who looked as though life had pushed her far beyond her limits. Obese, wrapped in an old winter coat that seemed too thin for the cold, and holding a small bag of discounted food as if it were the last thing she owned, the lonely widow stared blankly at a world that had stopped noticing her long ago. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of simple human compassion, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel. It truly helps us create more stories that touch hearts. The father hadn't planned on encountering anything unusual that day. He had been rushing, trying to balance work, bills, and the never-ending list of things he carried on his shoulders. His daughter, Emily, had been skipping beside him like she always did, humming softly as she gazed at Christmas decorations hanging in windows and sparkling over streets that pretended life was perfect. But when she suddenly slowed, then stopped completely, he turned and found her frozen in front of the bench, staring at the stranger whose very existence seemed woven with exhaustion and invisible wounds. The woman's eyes were fixed downward, her breath shaky, the world moving around her as if she were a misplaced shadow. The father tried gently pulling Emily along, but she didn't move. Something in the child refused to turn away. She stared as though she could feel the heaviness buried inside that woman, grief pressing on her chest, loneliness sitting beside her like an old companion. Life had not been kind to the widow, whose name was Marlene. Once she had been full of laughter, living in a small home with a husband who adored her and neighbors who knew her by name. But tragedy had crept into her world slowly, then all at once. Her husband's sudden illness had drained their savings, and losing him drained her spirit. Weight gain followed grief's arrival, an armor she hadn't asked for but could not escape. Judgments became frequent, invitations disappeared. The holidays became reminders of everything she no longer had. And so she found herself alone on that cold December day, her thoughts tangled between memories and the silence that refused to leave her. The father knew nothing of her story, but he recognized the look of someone who carried too much. He had worn that expression himself after losing his wife years earlier. That was why Emily's question pierced him so deeply, because she had never asked anything like that before, and because she had spoken to the part of him that still remembered what heartbreak felt like. He crouched beside his daughter, unsure what to say. Kindness was simple when life was easy, it was complicated when you were worried about bills, time, and reputation. Taking a stranger home, even just for a meal, felt reckless. But walking away felt cruel. He struggled, heart tugging in both directions. Emily looked up at him with eyes filled not with innocence but with certainty, as though she understood something he didn't. He took a breath and approached the widow. He spoke softly, offering warmth without intrusion. Marlene flinched at first, unaccustomed to being acknowledged, much less spoken to with kindness. She had spent so long shrinking her presence, convinced she was a burden anywhere she went. But something in his tone eased her guard, and something in Emily's tender gaze reminded her of who she used to be. The father invited her to join them for a warm meal. Marlene tried refusing out of habit, embarrassed by her appearance and her situation, but the girl's hopeful expression shattered her resistance. She nodded, unsure what would come next, but grateful in a way she could hardly express. At the small restaurant, something extraordinary began to happen. Emily chatted with Marlene as though she had known her forever, asking questions about Christmas traditions, favorite cookies, and the things that used to make her smile. Little by little, warmth began melting through the layers of isolation Marlene had built around herself. The father watched quietly, noticing how Emily's compassion lifted shadows from a woman who had spent years living under them. Over plates of food, the widow revealed pieces of her life, not in dramatic confession, but in simple, fragile mentions. She spoke about her late husband, her struggles, and the way holidays had changed. Her voice trembled, but she found herself speaking more than she expected, as though the presence of the father and daughter gave her permission to breathe again. When they finished eating, the father offered her a ride home. She agreed, worried her small apartment would appear too bare, but when they arrived, Emily admired everything without judgment. She pointed at decorations Marlene had kept boxed away, urging her to put them up again. In a moment that caught her off guard, Marlene felt a spark of something she thought she had lost: belonging. In the days that followed, they visited her again, bringing small gifts, meals, and laughter. What had started as a simple act of kindness became a gentle rebuilding of a broken life. The father found himself feeling lighter too, as if helping Marlene open doors he had closed after his wife's passing. Emily's joy deepened with every visit, her heart swelling with the understanding that kindness could change the world in quiet, unexpected ways. By Christmas Eve, Marlene joined them for dinner in their home. She walked in nervously at first, wearing a dress she had almost donated, unsure if she belonged. But the warmth of their home, the smell of cooking, and the sound of Emily's excited chatter washed over her like a long-awaited embrace. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel like a ghost in the world. She felt seen, welcomed, alive. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more uplifting stories. Your support truly helps keep this channel growing. Before the ending, please comment below, what does kindness mean to you? As snow fell softly outside and the glow of Christmas lights filled the room, Marlene realized something profound. Sometimes family isn't bound by blood, but by compassion. Sometimes healing begins when someone simply refuses to walk past your pain. And sometimes, all it takes is one brave child asking one brave question to bring a lonely soul home for Christmas.